Morning. Good morning, everyone. Okay. Jason Shapiro from Cape Town. Norman Stein. Yes, you are on the right feed. Michael Stein. Arnold Orkin. Fantastic. Morning, everyone. Sharon Diamond. Welcome aboard. Michael Miller. Felicia Jenks. Good stuff. Wonderful. We're doing well here. Okay. We're also on YouTube Live at the same time. So it's Facebook Live and YouTube Live at the same time. What I'm going to ask the Facebook users to indicate to me is if the sound is clear. Yesterday we had some problems here with the sound. Yes, you are, Norman. It's Monday morning. You're on the correct feed. Dennis Solomons, welcome. Thank you. Good morning. Tracy Mindel, good morning. Great. Just asking the Facebook users to let me know if the sound is okay, because we are feeding through to YouTube and to Facebook at the same time. So just indicate in the comments if I see a problem here. Okay, just checking. Okay, Arlene, you'd love it, says my sound is clear. So if my sound, thank you, Manfred. If my sound changes, I ask you please to let me know. Because as I said, we're streaming twice here. Great. All good. Okay, so we're just going to wait a minute or so to see that everybody is online. Make sure everyone's on. Feldman's having problems logging on. Just give me a second here. Okay, we're about to start. Just making sure everyone's got the right links. Right. Okay, good morning, one and all. Welcome to our daily learning session for today, Monday, 20th of April. And those who are on Facebook, welcome to Facebook.
Let me know if there's anything I can.
Welcome to those who are on Facebook. Welcome to those who are on YouTube. As I've announced, we're doing YouTube Live as well. Whenever the sound wobbles, please do let me know. Please, those either on Facebook or YouTube, just comment in the comments if the sound's wobbling for whatever reason. As we always do, we request that everyone should share this, especially on Facebook. It's easier to share. Share the video with your friends and family onto your timeline. I already saw that Michael Stein and others did that. So please do it as well. That way people will know what you're busy with this morning and hopefully will join us too at the same time. Okay, so I hope you're all keeping well. Today we're going to give you some new thoughts and new inspiration that hopefully will the day. And we're going to learn, interestingly, regarding the parasha, which is during the time of a pandemic, of an illness that has spread across the world and has baffled the minds of scientists and doctors. And nothing's a coincidence, because when you come across a parasha that is so connected to the events of the times, it shouts out in your face and says, look at me. If you're looking for inspiration, it's all here. And if we turn to this week's parasha, both the Tazria parasha and the Metzora parasha, they're both combined. We're focusing on the plague called leprosy, Tzorat. It's an illness. It's an illness that baffled the minds of the academics, that baffled the minds of the doctors and the scientists and the rabbonim and the rabbis. And nothing's a coincidence. It's quite interesting that we're learning about the plague of Tzorat, of leprosy, during the time of coronavirus, COVID-19. And they share perhaps a lot in common. And that's what we're going to discuss today, is the messages and the lessons we learn from the story of the Tzorat, of the leprosy, and hopefully how that ties in to the experiences that we're experiencing today with the coronavirus, COVID-19. Good morning, Trevor Gerson. Nice to have you online with us. So, if you're coming online now, please do share with us that you're here, both on Facebook and on YouTube. We'd love to know who's present and who's in our classroom, who's learning with us. We appreciate that very, very much. So, the Zohar, the origin of Kabbalah, of Jewish mysticism, writes regarding Tzorat, regarding leprosy, that it's a lot deeper and much more complicated than just external sores that a person has to deal with. And he says there's two types of illnesses, two types of sores for why we go to a doctor or why we seek treatment. One type of illness or is external. It's chitzoni. It's external on the surface of one's skin. And you go to the doctor and you say to the doctor, look, I have a rash. I've got a sore. Can you assist me? And what does the doctor do? The doctor gives us a cream, a remedy to heal the external blemish or the external sore that we have on our skin. That's one type of illness or one type of disease or sickness. But then he says, the Zohar, there's another type of illness. And this illness surfaces to the surface, comes to the skin on the outside, but really it's not an external blemish. Really, it's an indication of a much deeper blemish inside of us. So the doctor looks at it, and yeah, the symptoms seem to show externality. She seems to show external symptoms. But the doctor says we've actually got a much, much deeper problem here, which we need to investigate. And so we go through CAT scans and MRIs and all sorts of X-rays to figure out what's the internal problem, the deeper problem, the more complicated problem. And once we resolve the more complicated problem, the doctor's pretty certain that that will take away the external blemish on the outside. Good morning, Linda. Good morning, Arnold. Thank you for joining us. And so the important background we need to know for the plague of Tzorat, the plague of leprosy. Because the plague of leprosy, says the Torah, is not just an external blemish. If it was just an external blemish, we'd send the guy with leprosy to the doctor, give him some sort of ointment or creams, and that will heal on the skin, on the surface. But says the Zohar, this is a lot deeper than that. The plague of leprosy, the illness of leprosy, is something that has dug deep into the pnimiyut, into the internal chambers of the individual, and needs to be dealt with. What do we mean spiritually when we say that the illness of taras is not just external, but the illness of taras, of leprosy, is actually internal? It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with his blood. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with his internal limbs. The Torah tells us that when someone has leprosy, there's something spiritually wrong with their neshama, with their soul. And the spiritual blemish is manifesting into a physical blemish. The spiritual blemish is deep down, and the symptoms come across as physical. Once again, if the sound is not clear, I'd like you to tell me so, because we are streaming at the same time to Facebook and to YouTube. That could cause complications. If the sound is not clear, please do indicate that you're having difficulty listening. Welcome to Helen Feinstein and Brian Feinstein. So what do we do? What do we do during this time when we find someone who has an illness called tzarat, leprosy? What do we do with this individual? So the first thing is that we have to lock him away. Sound familiar, hey? Quarantine, lockdown. We take the one who has leprosy and we put the one who has leprosy, we put him into seger, into lockdown. That's where he must sit. That's where he must pray. That's where he must cry out to Hashem. That's when he must realize that spiritually he is ill. Spiritually he's ill, and therefore he needs time to reflect, time to meditate, time to contemplate, time to introspect, which is what we do. We lock him down, says the Torah. We put him away. And it's during that time that he's away that the leper, the one who has leprosy, can now reflect on his character, on his behavior, on his conduct, and figure out, why is he ill? Why is he ill? What's bothering him? What's spiritually ill and what's physically ill? So that he can now bring healing to him. How long is he locked away for? So the Torah says that the leper is locked away for 1 week minimum. First he goes into lockdown for a week. And there he has to sit and wait out to see what happens with his leprosy for a week. There's a possible extension to that. We'll get to that in a moment. Why a week specifically? So there's a beautiful insight given to us by the Nesivos Shalom, which is a Slonim Rebbe. And he writes, very, very interestingly, that the reason why it's a week is because every week will consist of one Shabbos. So the Torah generalizes, no matter what day you develop this illness, you've got to be in lockdown for a week. Because when you're in lockdown, in quarantine for a week, there's definitely going to be a Shabbos during that week. And Shabbos is the time when a person can totally disengage himself from the world, when a person can totally disconnect from technology and anything that connects him to the world that brings illness to us. And so therefore we need a Shabbos. And the Nesivos Shalom elaborates in great length about the power of Shabbos. And then when we sit around, when we come into Shabbos and we disconnect from the world, we become a new being, a new creation. And when we walk out on Motzei Shabbat and on Saturday night, we walk out of Shabbos, we feel rejuvenated, renewed. And that's part of the cleansing process. As we know that Shabbos and Teshuvah are the same letters. It means to return. Shabbos, we're returning, we're reconnecting. And so when the person who has leprosy, when the person has an illness, and he sits outside the camp, and he's in quarantine, he's in lockdown for a week's period, a week's time, and he has a Shabbos there, during that Shabbos, it assists him in reflecting. in renewing, in becoming a better person. And that's the power of the week that he sits during that time. Which is a beautiful insight into Shabbos. It's a beautiful insight into what we're experiencing right now. So much of what the Torah spoke about, the leper and tzaraat, is what we're experiencing now. Lockdown, disengaging ourselves from the world around, being forced to observe Shabbos in our homes with our families, disconnecting from the world around us. It's powerful stuff. And when we talk about illness or leprosy or COVID-19, we're not talking about an individual necessarily. Obviously, individuals suffer through the process. Lo yaleinu. We're talking about a world that's going through a process of cleansing, a world that is in lockdown, in quarantine, disengaging from the outside influences that distract us from the connection to God. And just like the tzarua, the leper, had to go through this process, I think there's definitely a connection to us as well during this time. There's actually just to touch upon that topic of Shabbos, there's actually two conflicting sources when it comes to Shabbos. And I actually sent this to the chief rabbi as well, because it very much relates to the power of Shabbos, and his baby is a Shabbos project. So let me fill you in on that Shabbos. There's two conflicting sources with regards to Shabbos. One source says that if the Jewish people would observe one Shabbos, they would immediately be redeemed, and they would experience the final redemption and the Geula. That's one source. Another source says if the Jewish people would keep two Shabbatot, two Shabboses, they would immediately be redeemed. Obviously, the question is clear. Which one is it? One source says one Shabbos, another source says two Shabbosim. So which is it? One Shabbos or two Shabbosim? That was a big question that everyone had with regards to the Shabbos project. You know, we're encouraging everybody to keep one Shabbos, but there are sources that say two Shabbosim you need, two Shabboses in order to bring redemption to the world. So this seems to be a conflict, a contradiction. Once again, if you're joining us on either Facebook or YouTube Live, we would love you to say so. Say good morning, introduce yourself, say hello. We'd love to know you're with us, learning with us, engaging with us. And if there's any questions, feel free to post them. That's what this open forum is about, to be able to post your questions or comments or criticisms or questions or whatever you want. Feel free to do all. Also, if the sound isn't ideal, we would love you to mention so that we know where we're holding with regards to this broadcast. So let's answer this contradiction. The Shabbos, one Shabbos or two Shabboses? What do we need in order to bring redemption to us? So the answer is that if we were worthy and if we were focused, one Shabbos would be enough. One Shabbos is enough. And that's what the sages tell us. If you keep one Shabbos, you can immediately experience the redemption, the Geula. We're going to morning mark. But that's because you are focused and you're fully involved and you absorb that one Shabbos. But the problem is that not everybody is able to let go within one Shabbos. Everybody is able to connect fully to Shabbos within one Shabbos. It's very difficult to disconnect ourselves for one Shabbos. Let me give you an example. You know, when you've been on holiday and you go away for the summer break or the winter break, what I always find is that the first Shabbos is good, but I haven't really let go and involved myself in the holiday atmosphere. The first Shabbos is still trying to get used to the environment, still trying to get used to the new holiday home. I haven't really let go yet. I'm still connected to the outside world. But comes that second Shabbos on holiday, it's amazing. That second Shabbos, wow, so relaxed. The mind is clear, the heart is clear. You become fully involved in the relaxation and the peacefulness and the quiet of the new environment in which you find yourself in. And that's exactly what the Chazal are saying. If you're someone who's able to tune in to Shabbos immediately on one Shabbos, then yeah, you may experience redemption on that first Shabbos that you disconnect. But many people need to go through the process of two Shabboses. And that's what the Chazal are saying. If you keep two Shabboses, then you're really ready for the redemption, because you managed to internalize the message of peacefulness, of quiet, of inspiration. And what's interesting is that that's exactly what took place with the Tarat, with the leprosy. What happened with the leper? I mentioned earlier, the leper was sent into quarantine. The leper was sent into lockdown. Not a coincidence. That's where the leper the one with leprosy had to sit and wait. And it was a week. Why was it a week minimum? Because a week contains within it a Shabbos. So that's why it's a week. And then the Kohen would come back to him, and the Kohen would assess the blemish, not just the external blemish on the skin, but the Kohen would assess how deep is the blemish into his body, into his neshama, into his soul. And the Kohen would say, you need another week. We haven't properly cured you. We haven't properly healed you. It reminds me of our president, Ramaphosa. You know, he puts in 3 weeks of quarantine, of lockdown, and then he gets up and he announces, the country's not ready for this yet. We need another 2 weeks of cleansing before we open our doors and allow the society back to normal. This is exactly what happened with the Kohen. The Kohen took the leper, sent him out of the camp, put him into quarantine, into lockdown. He said to him, you wait here, minimum a week. That includes Shabbos. When you disconnect from the world, you introspect, reflect, do tshuva, reconnect to God, come on to Zoom shiurim and Facebook shiurim, and keep on learning and keeping engaging with Torah and mitzvot and God and spirituality, because this is where you're going to heal. And then he comes back and he looks at the blemish and he says, oh boy, I don't think it's healed. There's still a problem here. I need you to stay another week into quarantine, into lockdown. That's going to bring a second Shabbos. And once you have 2 Shabboses in quarantine, then it's time to bring the Geula, the redemption. And hopefully we can bring you out of quarantine back into the world. I found this so relevant to what we're going through today. We're going through quarantine ourselves. There's no question. The world is going through quarantine, lockdown, through the Shabbos experience of disconnecting ourselves from the world around. Why? To bring healing to a sickness that's far beyond physical. To bring healing to a sickness that's actually spiritual and deep within us and within the entire world around us. Another idea that we can see from the lessons of the Metzora, of the leper. It's quite interesting. The verse says that the Kohen must check out the blemish. Kohen checks out the blemish. It says, V'huva el ha-kohen, he should be brought to the Kohen. He should be brought to the high priest. And he should check it out. And then it says, Oy or el achad mibanav ha-kohanim, to one of his sons of the Kohen. That one of them should be able, either the Kohen Gadol or the regular Kohanim should be able to check out and look at the blemish. Interesting, eh? It wasn't a doctor or medical practitioner. Who's going to look at the blemish? It's going to be the Kohen Gadol. Because as we said, this is not just a regular physical blemish. It's not just the external skin condition that's causing problems here. This is something a lot deeper. This is something a lot more spiritual. And so therefore, it's not going to help to go to a medical practitioner. We got to go to the Kohen. And the Kohen is, and look at the contrast. He's either going to the Kohen or he's going to Echad Mibanav HaKohanim, to Kohanim. And says the Nesivot Shalom, Nesivot Shalom, the Slonim Rebbe, a beautiful insight here. How do you heal yourself from illness? How do you grow and become a better person and remove yourself from any spiritual affliction? You got to appoint for yourself a Kohen. The Kohen is going to be the one who's going to help you through the process of learning, of growing, of self-perfection. And that Kohen manifests himself today through a tzaddik, having a tzaddik, a leader, having a rebbe, as many, or Rosh Hashiva, having a rabbi who you're close to, who could be your mentor and your leader and your guide. Because when it comes to spiritual illness and we're not sure where to turn and what to do, where do I improve and how can I improve and what should I do to improve? We're biased with ourselves. We're self-involved. We can't really be the ones to tell ourselves how to improve and what to improve. So we need the Kohen. The Kohen is going to be the one, just like it was in the times of the Taruah, of the Tzarat, that the Kohen helped the leper to get through his process. And the Kohen is the one that sent him into quarantine. The Kohen is the one that told him to stay and keep Shabbos. So too in our case, when going through spiritual illness, as the world is going through today, it's important to attach ourselves and connect ourselves to the Kohanim. Not necessarily the Kohanim as we know them, but the Kohanim in the context of a spiritual leader. Because that spiritual leader is going to guide us. And let me tell you, friends, every spiritual leader needs a spiritual leader. As they say about psychologists, every psychologist needs a psychologist. Every rabbi needs a rabbi. Everyone needs a spiritual mentor who's going to guide us and inspire us and motivate us and assist us in growing and becoming better people. That's one aspect. But then the other aspect is, or he can go, and maybe the or means together with that. He can go to the sons of the Kohanim. What's that about? Now it's talking about a group. Sons of the Kohanim indicate there's a group of people. And the answer is, this is now your community. In addition to having a Kohen, go to the sons of the Kohanim. Meaning, go to the students, go to the community of the Kohanim. Because when you have a community, the community is the one that assists you to grow. The community is the one that helps you become a better person. Because when you're involved and engaged in a positive environment, that positive environment has an automatic influence on myself and my personal behavior and my conduct. This is the power of having shiurim like this on Facebook or YouTube or Zoom. Because what does it do? It brings the community together. That's why I ask you every morning when we log on to say good morning, introduce yourself. We want to show that we're part of a community. And even though many of you may not even know each other, but the fact that you're engaging within, the fact that you're, please close the door. No, please close the door. The fact that you're engaging within the same context, the same environment, helping one another. That's the fulfillment of the verse about the leper. That we go to the Kohen, but we also go to El Achad, we go to the Banav HaKohanim, we go to the sons of the Kohen. Because the sons of the Kohen, the students of the Kohen, the community of the Kohen is also so powerful. So well done for connecting this morning and coming and connecting. It's not a coincidence, by the way, that what's Shabbos about? In quarantine, this is very difficult. But generally, what's Shabbos about? Shabbos is about community. Shabbos is about family. You know why? Because the purification process of Shabbos, as we spoke earlier, the purification process of Shabbos happens when I do it with other people. When I daven with my community, when I learn with my community, when I eat my Shabbos meals with family and friends, we all help each other through the process of Shabbos, of returning. And so it's not a coincidence that God gave us Shabbos once a week. He gave us Shabbos because Shabbos has many, many benefits. One of the benefits of Shabbos is a sense of the sons of the Kohanim coming together. It's a community coming together, and we support each other and we embrace each other. And I'm still in, as you can see, in great excitement to see the similarities here between what the Torah is telling us regarding the leper, the Sarat, to what the world is going through today. We're going through an illness. They call it COVID-19. They call it coronavirus. It's a spiritual illness. Obviously, it has manifestation into physicality. We all get that. And lo yaleinu, there are people who have lost their lives over this. But it's a spiritual illness. And taking the lessons of what the Torah is telling us about quarantine, about lockdown, about the value of Shabbos, about the value of a kohen, a tzaddik, a rabbi in your life to mentor you, about the value of the sons of the Kohanim, of the community coming together and supporting one another. These are mind-boggling concepts that are so relevant to the time we find ourselves in today. So that's the inspiration for this morning. I hope that gives you some food for thought as you go through your day. If you have just logged on or you are with us and you want to share a question or a comment, please feel free to do so just before we wrap up. Let us know. All okay here. Okay, good. So thank you once again for joining us. And I wish you all a wonderful day. Keep safe, keep sane, stay home, learn, grow, become a better person. And I look forward to reconnecting tomorrow, same place, same time. Is Louette here? I see Michael Stein has welcomed Louette. If you've just signed on, please let us know. Thank you for being with us here today. I hope the clarity of sound has been good. And we wish you all a wonderful day ahead. God bless. All the best. Same place, same time tomorrow.